Welcome back to Gosforth Handyman, and a really big thank you because you've given me 1,000 subscribers, and that is a really exciting milestone that I never thought I would hit. It's been really good fun putting the videos together that I've done so far, and I thought as a 1,000 subscriber special, it's got to be a workshop tour, hasn't it? So here we go, quick tour of the Gosforth Handyman workshop to show you what it's all about. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to finish with a sticker wall, which is kind of over there, but I'm going to work around kind of anti-clockwise, starting from here. So first of all, wood, you'll find wood is just everywhere. I tend to keep my longer kind of sheet materials up this wall at the back because I can easily fit big 8x4 sheets up here. These are 8x2s that I've cut down, and bigger sheets of, you know, 3/4 inch or 18mm. As we say sometimes in the UK when we're feeling like being metric. Got my planer here, planer on the top and thicknesser on the bottom. Great little machine this, Kitty 637 or 1637, and does a great job. I've got TCT blades in it, carbide blades, and it cuts really clean. I get virtually no snipe from it at all. Quite an old machine. I've got a bin. You'll find like most stuff in here is on wheels. This is my burning pile. This is all wood that's really too small to do anything meaningful with, so I bag it up and use it on barbecues and stuff. Coming around here, got my main trip switch and whatnot. I've also got an isolation switch for all power in the workshop, apart from power to the charger. So you'll see the power feed splits off. I've got the main power comes around through the key switch, and that basically switches the power off to every tool in the shop. So I always leave that off until I come in the morning and I switch it on. And I know it's on because my lights over here, these lights I have plugged into the sockets here. So when those lights are on, I know my main workshop power is on. When they're off, main workshop power is off. As I say, I always leave it off just for safety. You know, I've got young kids, although I do keep the workshop locked, obviously. I don't want to take any chances, but I do have a separate feed coming off here, and this is really for chargers, and I've got a fridge and stuff in here as well that I don't want going off at all. So I've got a charging station kind of in this corner. Switch the power back on. Up here I've got my trusty jigsaw table that you'll have seen on a video, various saws and not very good lathe tools. I need to kind of sort this area out. I've got a bit of a gap here which I'm probably going to move, get some better lathe tools. I hardly ever use a lathe at the minute because these tools desperately need sharpening, and to be honest I might just buy some new tools, but those ones at the minute are almost pointless using, they're too blunt, and I just haven't had time to sort that out. I very rarely do lathe projects, but do have this cheapy lathe here. Long stuff up the top, that tends to be like metal trims and stuff like that. Shelf rails, shelf brackets. We've then got my trusty OCD box rack, which you'll have seen a video on. Got the miter saw here. I'm not a big believer in fancy miter saw stations, I'm afraid. So this is my miter station. It's the same height as that. I can move it wherever I want. I can clamp it to the workbench. And then, oh, well, if I need a stop on it, then that just gets screwed on there, and then that's my end stop, which can move backwards or forwards. I can move it over here. I can go the entire length of the workbench. So I find that as a miter saw station I've been using for best part of 3, maybe 4 years, and I do not miss having a big fancy miter saw station. The reason being, if you've got a big long piece of wood which has got a bend in it, and maybe it's got a bend at the end, and all you want to do is chop that bend out of it, especially if it's a wider bit of wood, that can be a real pain in the neck if you can't put the bend in that direction because you've got a huge fence going along. I just find I don't need it. The only reference point on a miter saw that's important is the fence here. I don't really see the point in a fence that extends all the way along. But that said, you guys with big fancy miter saw stations, I'm very envious. I would love some sort of proper dust extraction behind here. I haven't got it. As a result, it's just a dusty mess. I know that you can obviously, if I had a fence all the way along here, I could put stops on it, I could put measurement stuff on. That would be brilliant, as long as I could move it out the road if I did have to cut pieces that had a bend in it or whatever. Anyway, let me just shove all this stuff out the road. My biggest single problem, as you've probably guessed, is lack of space. This is quite a small shop. It's about 250 square feet. It's basically 2/3 of a double garage. Oh, and by the way, that wall over there was my garage door. You will have seen on the workshop upgrade videos, you'll have seen when I blocked this up and insulated it and everything. So glad I did that. Don't miss it at all, and it gives me a full wall for storing more stuff. Down here, just random cupboards, metal. Don't know what I'm doing with all that. Fridge that I rarely use. Tools underneath. And then this is kind of my main work area here. So you'll have noticed that I've got a speaker there, an amp there, speaker there, and this is absolutely the sweet spot for the sound. Standing here, the sound from a stereo just sounds awesome. Tools up this wall. This tends to be mainly measuring stuff over here, so squares, rulers, compass, more squares, cutters, just tools that I generally use on an everyday basis. I've got pencils and pens I've got all over the place, but I've decided to make a little rack of a Sharpie, a few pencils, a ball pen and an X-Acto knife, because these always live there. So no matter where else I've put stuff and lost stuff, I know I can find a pencil or a Sharpie from here. Up here are some random hammers, more straight stuff, shelf brackets and all sorts of things. Tends to be like glues and bits and pieces here. I need to tidy that up at some point. Over here, this tends to just be kind of, not junk, but when I've finished a project and I've just got leftover stuff, it gets chucked into this corner until I've had a chance to sort it out. Screw nest, which is just random screws. Obviously I've got like my OCD screws in the boxes up here, which I'll just show you. Common screws. Probably only needs topped up, to be honest. So these are the ones that I just use pretty much every day on jobs, and then so if I'm going out to a job, I just grab normally 3 boxes, common plugs, common screws and drill bits. Everything else I'll take depending on the nature of the job I'm doing, so whether or not I'm going to need fancy screw caps. So here I've just got a box full of hundreds of different types of screw caps, smaller screws, machine screws, stuff for flat pack, and that includes like kitchens and all that, electric stuff. Here I've got broken promises and lost dreams. So coming around this side, you'll have briefly seen my stereo. I picked that up for 10 quid second hand off Gumtree. Yamaha AV Dolby digital receiver. These just get chucked in the bin these days because nothing has any value anymore. These speakers I already had, so basically for 10 quid I've got hi-fi in the shop that sounds better than the hi-fi in the house. I bought this little cheapy HTC phone off eBay for 15 quid. And that is my MP3 player. So I play it. Stop. That is awesome. So, okay, if you include that, it was 25 quid for the hi-fi. Up here, more storage of stuff. Screws. These are kind of stock screws. When screws over here have run dry, I stock them up from here, so I always make sure that I've got a stock of all the commonly used screws that I use, because running out of them mid-job is not good news. Spacers, big bolts, stock of plugs and all that, bits and pieces. Up the top here, just more random junk, but it's all stuff that I do use. Very old, tiny little Black & Decker grinding wheel. It kind of does the job. I need a new grinding wheel, but I don't have one at the moment. It's not particularly high priority. Over here, Sharpening. sharpening, what am I saying? Sanding station, the Shepak, or Shepak. This is great, machine does the job. You can tilt that up, I think, but I always just use it flat like that. I sometimes use it for getting an initial grind onto chisels and stuff before taking them onto the water stones, you know, so I can use the honing guide on here and it'll work absolutely fine just to get a rough grind to the right angle before taking it onto the proper stones. And obviously for wood and everything. You know what it is? I have never replaced the pads on this. I don't think I have anyway. I've definitely not replaced that. I might have replaced that one. I've never replaced the belt. It's still going all right. It probably started off as about a 60 or an 80 or something, and it's probably now about 160 or a 200. It still does the job. I'm so tight. Up here we have screwdrivers, clamps, pocket hole jig up there, more hammers. This tends to be kind of more metalworking-y stuff, like file screwdrivers and stuff, because it's near the vise. But again, there's no huge logic to that. More clamps, never enough clamps. My old DeWalt chop saw, which I haven't quite decided what to do with yet, but I should probably just sell it. A compressor over here, which does the job. The valve's open at the minute, which is why it's hissing. Air tools, and then more wood. So much wood, so little time. And then we've got wood for upcoming projects here. More wood down the bottom. This tends to be kind of panel wood and stuff. This is all reclaimed woods. Up here, more reclaimed wood. Dartboard that I never have time to use. This tends to be all strip materials down here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's all kind of strip stuff. What else have we got? More jigs and things over there, and then over to here. This is my another thing on wheels. This is wood that's basically too good to burn, so I keep it, and but it doesn't really fit in any of the other places. So this is kind of random bits of wood that I'm too tight to burn, because some of it's quite good, like beech and birch and stuff like that, which I don't really want to throw away. It might be handy for a project, so it tends to live in there, and it's always full, and bits always fall out all the time and really annoy me. More storage of stuff. The little Evolution miter saw that I now start taking to jobs because it's ultra portable. And I've got my sharpening station here that, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen what that's all about, but it's a water stone sharpening station. I might do a video on it at some point, but it works brilliantly. And then up here, this is kind of sample material and stuff, just so I've got like to hand different stain colours, different profiles of wood. You might have seen the video on comparison of different gloss paints. I've got that up there just to see how they yellow over time. This I made at school when I was little. That hammer I made at school. The ruler and screwdriver were my dad's. Of course, Jimmy's poster here, the print, and of course probably one of my biggest inspirations of woodworking has got to be Norm Abram. I used to spend hours and hours watching the new Yankee workshop. Here I've got a couple of things my kids built. That was from an art project when I was at school, but that my daughter drew. This is a little health and safety reminder, which I'll tell you about one day. It involves a circular saw and a steel ruler. I'll not go into it at the minute. And then, of course, we have the sticker door, which really is only built up over the last few months. And we've got some awesome makers on here. Big names and little names as well, but they are all awesome in their own special way. And if you want to get into the sticker thing, just search for Sticker Swap on Instagram, and at the moment I'm more than happy to send you a sticker if you send me one, and you'll see it on this door. And that's kind of it. Oh, the middle bit of my shop, I've got the 745 DeWalt table saw on the DeWalt stand, which does make it mobile, but to be honest, I very, very rarely take it out of the shop. I nearly always use it in here. So I've got the dust collection thing behind it, which is permanently plugged into the table saw. One of my biggest frustrations is that I haven't got room for an outfeed table. There's just not enough room in this shop for one. So I have to make do with these roller stands, which kind of work. I've just about got enough room to get a 2.4 meter bit of wood from the top of the shop through the saw and to the end, but only if it's thin, otherwise it'll hit the vise. I've really got nowhere else to put the vise, and even if I didn't have the vise there, it would hit the sanding station. So I don't really know, there's not a huge amount that I can do. It's only a 250 square foot shop. It's a really small shop. I could desperately do with more space. I'm standing on wood that is for a future project. This is all reclaimed scaffold board wood, which is, it's all cleaned up and jet washed, ready for a project, but I've literally nowhere to put it, so it has to live on the floor there, and I stand on it at the minute. I've just run out of space, literally completely run out of space. But that is it. That is the shop in a nutshell. This is wood for a project coming up, all 18mm MDF and 18mm ply. Again, if you followed my Instagram, you'll have seen what that ply is about, because I've been trying to remove a bend out of it, which I seem to have done. More 18mm ply and 6mm MDF for another project. There'll be a lot of people who say, oh, you're doing a lot of stuff out of ply and MDF, you're not a proper joiner. Unfortunately, there's not much call for solid oak projects these days in this neck of the woods, and even if there was, you know, a piece of oak that big would cost me about 60 quid. Like that 2 foot by about 1 foot piece of solid oak sheet would cost me about 60 quid. So you do the maths on making shelves and stuff like that out of solid oak or hardwoods. It's just so expensive at the minute around here. I do try and get my hand on reclaimed hardwoods when I can. I haven't got that much at the minute, but I've got more wood down here. A lot of this is kind of birches and beeches. I've got some Spanish chestnut down here, which is drying out, which someone gave me, which I'll use some big slabs of Spanish chestnut, which will be used for a future project, which should be good. Oh, I forgot to mention as well, this is my air thing, which I always keep connected up all the time, use it all the time. Over here I've got paints, I've got water-based on the left and oil-based on the right, so that just keeps things really simple when it comes to grabbing the right type of paint. I've got more stuff here. This is for a future video, which is a table thing that I found at the skip, which I'll be turning into a thing at some point. And what else? I think that is about it. So any questions, pop them in the comments, but there's not a lot more to it than that. I desperately need more space, especially for storing wood. I would love to know if you've got a 250 square foot workshop, if you've got any better ideas on how I could lay this out. I would love to know. I cannot think of a better way of doing it really, but for what I do, it does the job. But I do need to get a bigger shop soon-ish, so watch this space, because the bigger projects that I'm doing now, I just haven't got the room in this shop to do them. Oh, by the way, yeah, that's another thing. The doorway and everything, which you'll have seen on the video of when I did the shop upgrade. So I made the door and made the doorway and everything, and they're all designed so that I can get this. This tends to be my finishing bench over here, and this is on wheels. It's the only bench that's on wheels, and this will fit out of the door. So if I do have something really heavy, and this is exactly the same height as the tailgate on my truck, so if I'm working on something really heavy, I can put it on this, wheel it out through the door up to the tailgate of my truck and slide it straight into the back of the truck. So that's exactly the height of well, pretty much exactly the height of the tailgate. Yeah, so that's quite a handy thing. As I say, that's the only bench that's on wheels. Everything else is kind of fixed. Again, I haven't got a proper solid workbench. I just haven't got the room for one, which again is a little bit annoying, but for the minute, you know, I could sacrifice a finishing bench and have one over here. I suppose that might be an idea, but I do like having the mobile bench. I find that really handy, so I can't really do that. I think it's just a limitation of how much space you've got in a 250 square foot workshop, to be honest. But there you go. Hope that's been of some interest to some people out there. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for the 1,000 subscribers. It means an enormous amount. Please keep hitting subscribe. Please keep watching. I've got a massive backlog of videos that I need to edit and get out there. If there's any particular videos that you want to see, it tends to be more kind of utilitarian stuff that I do. You know, it is shelving projects and your more, I'm not going to say boring projects, but it's your more utility type projects that I tend to do. Although, watch this space, there is some more interesting stuff coming when I get time. But you've got to do the bread and butter jobs at the end of the day. So thank you for watching again. Thank you for the 1,000 subscribers. If this is your first time to the channel, please give it a quick like and hit subscribe, and see you next time. Bye!